Welcome, everyone, to the June Coffee Chats, where we have a monthly dose of insight and inspiration from women leading the way. Joining us for June's Coffee Chats is Natalie. Natalie is an executive and career coach, leadership consultant, and former healthcare executive with over 20 years of experience helping professionals navigate career growth and communicate with confidence. She specializes in working with leaders across industries to clarify their purpose, build strategic visibility, and step into roles that align with their strengths and values. Today, she's going to discuss the clarity, confidence, and communication tools needed to stand out and move forward in today's crowded job market. Natalie will be taking us through her Bold Moves Make It Powerful and Practical presentation, where we will find clarity in our career and life goals, networking and visibility, confidence in job search and interviews, communication as your secret weapon, and taking smart risk and finding support.
Really want. When I talk about purpose isn't, it sounds like it's this big, dramatic, overarching mission statement, and it can be, but it doesn't usually start like that. It's often something quiet and personal, like providing for your family, making enough money to put your kid in private school, or whatever, something like that that is tangible, but feels maybe not quite huge enough to call your purpose. But I want you to start there. It really is. It's the thing that gets you through um, like the discouraging days or the days when you wake up and you're like, ugh, this again. The purpose is what will pull you forward. Um, and I want you to, a place that I like to have my clients start with this is think about what are the top three motivators for you right now. We are going to talk about sometimes your goals can be far off in the future, like 5 or 10 years, but what are your top three motivators right now? The real reasons behind your immediate goals. It can be something like, I want a career that allows me to be creative. I want a career that allows me to grow my leadership capabilities. Sometimes it's flexibility, and sometimes it is as big as legacy, but there's no right or wrong answers here. These are your answers, and I often find that people skip over this because in this really crowded job market, really noisy job market, we're just throwing resumes out and hoping for the best. But that's not what works right now. We got to make it work for you. So I want you to think about these three questions here: that what drives you to show up, grow, and lead? Who are you doing this for? And what impact matters most to you? That last question of impact, um, it's really everything. When you look back at your life, when you look back at your career, the impact that you've had. That's what we often don't get a chance to focus on that. So we can intentionally focus on that now. Your strengths. This is something else that I love to do with all of my clients early on is I want to know what is the thing you do better than almost anybody else you know. That is so important because you've got to be able to do that in your job. You have to be able to do that in your job. And so often I ask people like, what comes naturally to you that others find hard? We often have to dig for that answer because people are like, I don't know, like, isn't that easy? And I'm like, no, my gosh, no, it's not. It's not easy for everybody. Just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it is not valuable. Often that's the most valuable thing you can bring to the world, but specifically your career. So these questions here, when do you feel most confident and in control? What comes naturally to you that others find hard? And what are you known for? These don't necessarily guide or drive your job search, but they can help you target the right industry, the right company culture, the things that at the end of the day are important for fulfillment and meaning. And I don't know if many of you are in between roles or if you're like right on that edge of thinking about jumping to something else. That's the perfect time to dig into this and figure out what your strengths are. I like to do, and this is not, I am not a paid, I mean, Lord, I'm not paid by Crucial or by Clifton Strengths, but I could be. I love the Clifton Strengths, the Strength Finders assessment. It's not a personality assessment. It's a strength assessment. It helps you identify the top 5 strengths that you have, the things you can't turn off, the things you cannot stop doing, whether you want to or not. And oftentimes they're the things that got you in trouble as a kid. So just know that those things happen. And yeah, it's exactly a fabulous assessment, Danielle. I love it. So these are the things in a noisy job market that help set you apart. Knowing these things. This is the start of it. There's more. And then this is the thing I want you to think about at night. I want you to think about when you're laying in bed, when you are not able to go fall asleep because you're thinking, why is my resume not getting answers? Why was I not given that promotion? Why was, fill in the blank? All the stuff that keeps us spiraling when we have those quiet moments, fill it with these questions instead. Picture your ideal future. What do you want to look like in 5 years? What kind of work makes you proud? And who are you intentionally becoming? This is one of the most important and absolutely most overlooked parts of a job search or a career pivot is really visioning what you want things to look like for yourself. And it's not just about what looks good on paper, not what looks good to somebody else, not even like what your degree is in. It can be something completely different, but it needs to feel aligned with you. And this is especially true for high achievers. And I have never worked with somebody who was a woman who was in project management who didn't identify as a high achiever, because y'all tend to be, you are like the spreadsheet queens. You are the people who what's going on. You have the plans for everybody. And it can be heavy to be the person that has all the answers. So when you're a really high achiever, we often don't take a beat to pump those brakes and figure out what kind of goals to set and hit that are actually good for us, not just the next step. So when you're having these cycles, these times when you're not feeling like you can really get out of your own head, pop these questions in instead. Okay. And the reason for this is that when we talk about your purpose, your strengths, and your vision, that gives you a very strong direction. And it can be a direction that is different than what you're in right now. And that's great because it's probably the direction where you'll thrive. It's the direction where you'll be the happiest. So purpose gives you the energy, strengths gives you, we know the strengths are the tools you have to do it, and vision gives you the focus. And this whole thing, careers and job advancement is so much more than just getting the next job. This is the job that allows you to be you, the job that allows you to share your strengths and your gifts with the world. It's really aligning with the bigger picture. So when you know what your purpose, your strengths, and your vision are, this is your launch pad. This is where you can jump from. Great. So now we're going to get into one of my favorite topics, which is networking and visibility. And you are all here today, so you're doing it. You're doing it. Visibility is better than perfection. That is put that on a bumper sticker, put it on my headstone. That is the honest truth here. If you're not visible, you're not hireable. If you're not visible, you're not promotable. It really is. It's simple, but Lord, it's not easy. So these things here, you do not have to be the most qualified candidate, but you do have to be the most visible. You have to figure out a way to do that. And we're going to talk about some tactics for that. And that we know for sure that hiring managers trust people that they either know or people that they know who recommend people. So referrals are like the it girl right now. Referrals are everything. And in right the second or third bullet, that 70% of jobs are filled through relationships, not cold applications. And in some industries, it's higher than that. And that can feel daunting, especially if you're changing industries. You're like, how the hell? I don't know anybody in this industry. How am I supposed to get in? This is where networks like this come in really handy. Every conversation that you have with someone can be a breadcrumb to your next opportunity. Every single conversation is a touch point for a relationship. Is it exhausting, especially for my introverts? Yeah, it can be. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It can be exhausting, but we can also be really strategic about it. So we're going to talk about the advocates list. Huge fan of an advocates list. This is what I think of as your personal board of directors. And we can start with the low-hanging fruit, your existing relationships. This isn't your list of my 15 most important people. These are the people who you trust, connections that have people who would speak your name in a crowded room when you're not there. It's really that people who want your best interest at heart. So what I have my clients do is make a list. Give me 15 to 20 people that you are comfortable reaching out to. Make a plan to reach out to them. You can go now. ChatGPT makes this kind of stuff so like, thank God. This is where if you have a difficult time reaching out to people because you feel awkward, throw it in chat. Ask ChatGPT to write you an email template that reaches out to this person, letting them know you're looking for work, that you really you admire their career path and you'd love to learn more about their industry. And then, of course, make it sound like you. Don't rely on a robot for everything, but then make it sound like you. But I want you to think about people like can be former colleagues, mentors, friends, families, professors, past clients. And you want to prioritize people who are well connected in your target field, if possible, but also don't discount the fact that we don't really know who people know. Nobody knows. We don't know all the people, right? So even if you think a person is only well connected in one industry, if they're very well connected in one industry, I promise you they have connections who are extremely well connected in other industries. Um, and you also want to prioritize people who will vouch for your work and genuinely want you to succeed. And this is just an overview of where I think a lot of people, some of these are pretty obvious, but some of them, it's an important point to think about where you can find your strong network. Professional associations, of course, like this one, PMI, amazing. Your local PMI chapters are a wealth of information, or just like there's so many other really high achieving just super badass people in those other chapters. So don't discount that. Even something like your local chamber of commerce, it sounds, if you don't run your own business, or you might be like, why would I do that? You would be surprised if you haven't gone the number of people that go in and represent larger organizations as like, I am the local person of this large organization. Um, Also, your alumni groups, you undergrad, grad school, certification programs, and you do not have to. I went to Michigan State for all my education, master's, undergrad. They try to get me to spend more money on them every single year. I have never joined the Alumni Association, but I go to alumni events. I choose to pay individually for them because Lord knows they got enough money from me. But I will pay individually to go to events. I will pay to get on different listservs. You can do that. Former employers or employees, like obviously bosses, peers, internal recruiters. Don't forget about your HR people at your previous roles. Even if you did not leave under the best of circumstances, if you have a person in HR who you trust and know, that's that's their gold. That's gold. They are so well connected. LinkedIn connections. This is where I really think of like it's kind of your warm audience. The first level connections, that feels obvious. Those are people who you are connected with them and they are connected with you. But your second level connections are often untapped. Those are the people who you are connected with, who are connected with the other people. So it's like the 1 degree of Kevin Bacon. It's not that far. And you can often get a really awesome warm introduction from your person who is your first connection, who then knows another person as their first connection. Yeah, and go through your real life friends and connections first. Do that to connect with people. Your real life friends, connections. That's your second level. And then also things like local meetups and industry events, industry happy hours. Like I said, I used to live in, if you were on here early, we were talking about DC. I don't live there anymore. I lived there at one point in my life and I go back often. And every single time I go back in town, I find an industry or something. For me, it's probably healthcare I go to. I find industry happy hours and I just go and just chat people up because it's a great place to meet folks. And if DC is epic, has epic happy hours, but find those in your area. The Meetup app. The Meetup app is fabulous. It's free and it'll tell you everything that's going on in your area. Eventbrite is also a wonderful place. Eventbrite has a lot of information or a lot of professional events listed. Where Meetup sometimes it's more personal or just like hobby related. Eventbrite is most events also sell their tickets on Eventbrite, so you'll find them there. Also, this one, if you live in a place where you think, there is nothing cool happening here. You can start your own event. I started with a friend my own networking organization here in Asheville because I thought there wasn't something that was kind of cool and swanky that happened in the evening. I actually was sort of trying to mimic a elevated DC happy hour. And we started a networking event for women that we do every other month. And we started selling tickets, we get sponsors. It's a lot easier than it sounds. But as project managers, project and program managers, it may not even sound hard for you. This is the kind of work. I'm thankful that my co-founder of the networking thing is a project manager because she knows the ins and, you guys dot your I's, cross your T's. Is that what I'm saying? So don't discount the fact that you can start your own thing. And then you are the person on stage, and then you are the one that everybody's coming to. So, okay. I want you all to take action. I want you to start 3 conversations. This week it's Friday. You could do it next week, but your network grows through movement. It doesn't, I don't want you to overthink it. You never know who will open a door, but you increase your odds every single time you speak up. So this is how you can do it. Identify 3 people you can reach out to today or next week. Keep a really simple tracker, like an Excel sheet, name, email, date reached out, and the follow-up date. And relationships are greater than resumes. Relationships will always be greater than resumes. Resumes are important, and I don't have a slide on resumes, but I'm happy to talk about them afterwards. But relationships are, this is your ticket. Okay, now we'll talk about the confidence that confidence is a skill, and job searching is a great example of a thing that can either boost your confidence massively or like kick you down in a hole. So it is important for you to maintain your level of confidence. It does not show up before you take the leap. Confidence does not happen by thinking about doing the thing. You have to do the thing. Confidence grows by actually doing the thing, not just thinking about it. And the preparation is your power. It really is. This is the part of the interview process that so many people don't do is prepping and researching. It's clarifying your value and knowing your narrative. So let's get into that a little bit. When your story is clear, your energy is confident. Period. It's like then there's like a sales technique or a sales saying that a confused mind says no. It's the same thing when you're out networking, when you're in the job interview, a confused mind says pass. So we don't want that. When your story is clear, your energy is confident. And the goal is not to have a perfect script. It's really to know your story and be able to explain it 3 or 4 different ways. And so I love to have my clients practice answering the question of tell me about yourself. Because that is wild, right? Like I can go so many directions. Tell me about yourself. You're like, I don't know, like, there's so many different things that can happen. But when you put it through the lens of like an elevator pitch, it gets really, really clear. You do not have to explain every twist and turn of your life. You just have to connect the dots between what you have done and what you want to do. So I love an elevator pitch, 30 seconds or less. Honestly, if you can get it down to 15, people will keep listening. But the elevator pitch, who you are, what you do, what you want to achieve, or what you're looking for. It's a real easy thing. I mean, I haven't practiced this, but I feel like I'm telling you all to practice. So I'll say, like, mine's like, hi, I'm Natalie Micale. I'm an executive coach and leadership consultant. I work with people and large teams to help them communicate better and get faster results. If you know anybody who's looking for that, please pass my information along. Something like that. That could work. But a good elevator pitch, quick, pointed, and clear. Because when your story is clear, so is your energy. Interview like a leader. Interviewing process. So even if even if we don't have to worry about the resume and the online application, you're still going to have an interview no matter what. Even if it is an interview, you're going to have an interview. So I want you to own the room without over explaining an interview. Interviewing is the old school way of interviewing was almost like a pop quiz, right? Where you'd go in and they'd be like firing off questions and you've got to have answers really quick. Interviews now tend to be a little bit more conversational. They are they're wanting you to review your resume, of course, but it's not just your task list. And of course, the STAR method, the what is the STAR? Situation, task, action, results. The STAR method is still great, but don't sound robotic. This is where the preparation really comes into play. Um, when you're speaking in results, not responsibilities, that means telling them the outcomes, not the detailed steps taken to get there, unless you are asked to explain the detailed steps. This one right here, this one, if I could put a big star around it, I would. Don't shrink your accomplishments. Take credit for your work in the interview. Even if it was a team effort, you can still own the outcome. You are the one being interviewed, not the rest of the team. You are being interviewed. You don't have to say, I carried it all independently. There's nobody else that was on this. This was all me. You can say, no, the team and I did this, and this was the outcome of the work that I did. Make sure you take credit for it because somebody else will. And the person who takes credit for it is going to get the job. We have to take credit for the work that we do. Also, nothing's more important than pausing and breathing. I mean, without that, you got nothing. So the confidence often comes from a calmness, which is asking a lot for a job interview. It's asking a whole lot. Job interviews are intimidating. But when you make a point to say less and mean more, say less about what is not the outcome. We really want to know the outcome. And the prepare, and prepare more. I want you to research the most asked questions in this industry, in this specific job. Just Google it and see what comes up. Be ready to explain your resume bullet points. Prepare for them to ask you questions about things that you already think you've explained. And record yourself. This is my favorite thing, my favorite way to improve interviews is record yourself answering mock interview questions. It's super cringy, but it is the thing that will get you improvement faster than anything else. And the other things, the other prepare more is research the organization. Know who you are being interviewed by. Look up their LinkedIn, do everything you can. See where they went to school, see where they've lived. Do all of that. The more information you have, the better. Because remember, people want to hire people they know. And if they don't know you, they at least want to know that you're connecting with them in some way. And you can also look up other people's interview experiences with the company. Now, some of them are going to just be, it's like Yelp. The people who've had bad experiences are always the noisiest, but that's fine. We can look for trends. It'll help you know what to look out for. All right. Communication is a career accelerator, like full stop. This is it. Communication is your secret weapon. People decide if you are trustworthy and credible within a few seconds, based largely on how you communicate, not just on what you say. This is not about being perfect. It's not about being loud. It's almost never about being loud, to be honest. It's about clarity, confidence, and just calm presence. And that doesn't mean low energy. You can be high energy and still have a calm, collected presence. Your words shape how others experience your leadership, your personal leadership, how you present yourself. Clear communication is always things that make people think, oh, I can trust this person. This person is in alignment with my organization or whatever, and that they're credible. And nonverbal cues often speak louder than words. So this next slide is kind of busy, but when I say verbal and nonverbal, this is specifically what I'm talking about, all of these things. And I'm not going to go over all of them in detail, but after, if we have time, if there's questions about any of them, I'm happy to. But if you are doing an in-person interview, the gestures and posture is really important because we often, we live behind our computers now. And so it's pretty common to be extremely relaxed. I mean, I'm full disclosure, I'm in yoga pants right now. Like it's a relaxed experience. But if you are going into an office and you are formal and you are being professional, pay extra attention to your gestures and your posture. With verbal communication, the dreaded filler words, we all know what that means. I do them all the time. We all do them all the time. This is how recording yourself, that's the cringy ugh part of it, but it tells you what's going on. The tone and volume, make sure that you are, when you're listening to yourself after you're recording it, ask yourself, do I sound confident? Does my tone, is there like an up talk? Is my tone giving away that I'm a little bit less confident? If so, change it up. You have full control over that. And then thank you sometimes instead of sorry. That's just for all women everywhere, all the time. But these are the really big things. If there was only three things, the I'm sorry and thanks for your patience, saying something that I like to think about it like, would a man walk in the room and be like, I am so sorry. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Probably not. Should he? Maybe. He maybe should be sorry, but he probably wouldn't say it. So replace this with thank you for your patience or thank you for this. Practice the pause, the message in the pause. This is not filling all silence. It's really normal in Western cultures to not want silence. We love to fill it. There is a lot of power in that pause. Just let the point land. And then mirror the tone of the room, but lead with intention. So if you walk into a room and it is incredibly stuffy, you know that you need to be professional, but you also can be a little bit less stuffy, but you still have to hold yourself to that level of professionalism. Do you think do they want it to be that stuffy? If you think the answer is yes, then mirror that image, be that stuffy. But if you think, no, I don't even think they're realizing how stuffy it is, then go and be yourself, but like the highest level of professional of yourself. Remember, you do not have to say more. You just have to say it better. You just have to say things with ownership. Okay. So one of the questions that I saw, I added this slide this morning because when you sent me the questions, one of them was, what do you do when there's like a difficult conversation you have to have, but you're not sure? That you certainly don't want to have it. How do we walk into it? This this right here. Before you speak, ask yourself these three questions because the way we start a conversation often determines how others receive the message. It almost always determines how others receive the message, at least in part. It's your responsibility to set the tone. If you're the one having the difficult conversation, or if you're the one having just kind of an uncomfortable, direct, vulnerable conversation. And this could be with a recruiter during negotiations. This could be with the hiring manager when they ask you something that you don't want them to ask. Like I recently had a client who was let go for a highly political reason, and it was in the news, in the papers. And yep, the very first thing the recruiter asked her was about that. So she had to run herself through these questions. What do I want for myself? What do I want for this relationship? And am I behaving or communicating in a way that will inspire my desired outcomes? So the question of what do you want for the relationship, that's, sometimes you don't really want a relationship. Not everybody has to mean something, right? But in that moment, that relationship is important. And are you communicating in a way that will inspire the desired outcome? So in the case of my client, what she wanted to do was like throw her hands in the air and be like, are you serious? In this political climate, you think you don't know why this happened? That wasn't appropriate. She had to say, thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify this. And then she went into our highly rehearsed in 3 or 4 different ways answer. So this is the intention to walk into these kind of conversations with. And you might not know when these conversations are happening. So I don't know. I'm going to send the slides after. I've got a little sticky note on I don't have it anymore, but when I was working in healthcare, managing large teams of very complicated people and systems, I had these questions on a sticky note on my desk at all times. So, all right. So the last section here, we're going to talk about taking smart risks and finding support because safe is not always strategic and safe is not always the best option. We know that staying in the comfort zone, it may feel smart, and at times in your life, it is the right decision. but we have to acknowledge that it does limit growth. So there are going to be certain stages in life where we aren't going to, shoot for the moon and take all the shot, take all these risks. But know if you're in that stage or not. And if you're not, this is the time to take the risk. And sometimes we think that, or oftentimes we think, I think we're often taught that if we keep our head down and do great work, someone will notice and reward us. But that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It keeps us valuable, but often invisible. So smart risks are calculated. Smart risks like speaking up or applying for a stretch role, starting new conversations, things like this. The Without a doubt, the biggest jumps in my career started with massive amounts of discomfort. Still to this day, I feel like every day I'm doing something that I don't know how to do. And I encourage you to get a little more uncomfortable in that way. And then risk is not always reckless. It doesn't have to be always reckless, because when you are aligned and you're taking action based off of your purpose, your mission, all of these things, you know that you're in alignment. So smart risks can look like applying for a job, even if you're only 70% qualified. Of course, if that qualification is like you have to have an MBA for sure and you don't, then that could be different. But even then, actually, let's not let's go with an MD. If it says you have to be an MD and you're not, that ain't gonna cut it. But there are still certain things that we can get around. Smart risk can also look like speaking up in a meeting with a new idea. You could be scared, and really what we're scared of is negative judgment. We're not necessarily speaking up in a meeting with a new idea, rarely will get you fired. What it might do is have people look at you and be like, who do you think you are? That's probably okay. That's probably okay, because you're more than whatever they think you are. So speak up in a meeting with a new idea. You can ask for feedback from someone you admire. You can tell them, I really admire your career trajectory, and I would love your feedback on some things that I could possibly improve on to help me have a career that ends up being like yours. Get real vulnerable and real honest with people. People want to help. And the biggest one, say yes to an opportunity before you're ready. Man, we are very resourceful, crafty. Humans are so resourceful and crafty. Say yes and then figure it out. Say yes and then figure out how to do it. Say yes, look it up. Say yes, reach out to somebody who you know has done it before. But if it's an opportunity that you want, even if you're not fully ready for it, say yes. That's the only way you're going to have a chance. And waiting until you are fully ready, it means you're probably going to miss out on more than half of the chances that you're capable of. We do not want that. So smart risks is none of these are about being fearless. You can be scared and do all of these. It's about being strategic and supported. So find your people. You do not have to do this alone. You all here today. These are your people. This is your people, but then also build your advocate list. Your peers, your mentors, past managers, current managers, even if they know that you're looking to grow. Join professional groups. This one, PMI, any of the other ones, you can hire a coach or accountability partner, somebody who really checks in on you and makes sure you're living up to the things you said you wanted for yourself. That's often what I do. I keep people on track to what they said they wanted to do. And then always say yes to the connection. I mean, actually, not on LinkedIn. Check that first. Make sure they're real people. But in real life, always say yes to a connection, even if it feels awkward at first. If it feels awkward at first, you are heading in the right direction. And then so pulling it all together, I want you to take a step this week. I want you to apply, to reach out, speak up, or say yes. Do something that feels a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And this is everything we talked about. Purpose fuels your energy. Strength gives you the tools. Vision gives you the focus. Communication builds your presence and your confidence. Networking grows your visibility, and risks move you forward. As humans, we always want to think we can look to somebody else, right, for the answers. That's what we always think, because we're communal. Humans are communal. We know this, but sometimes it's going to take you reaching out, stepping outside of what your little home base thinks you should do. Risk moves you forward. And that is the end of that. This QR code here, I have a free download called Leadership Influence Playbook. You can take it. You can check out my website. I also offer free 30-minute calls. But this is just additional information to help everybody feel comfortable reaching out and stepping outside of their comfort zones to get that job. So that's it.
Did want to open the floor for some questions. We did have some questions submitted, so we'll start there. First of all, also thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
That,
of course.
that was really great. So the first question that we have is how do you handle setbacks or failures in your professional life, especially when leading high-stake projects or lead
Yeah,
high-stake with clients?
yeah. Um, It is first and foremost, like if you've failed at something really big, you were doing something really big. So many people don't risk failure at all, and they don't end up doing anything big. But I'm a big fan of like a postmortem or a whatever, like a review at the end to actually like a root cause analysis. Go in there and you can, in some industries, you actually have to do these with your team to figure out what really went wrong. But if it feels like a personal failure, like you did something, you didn't speak up when you should have, or something like that, do your own root cause analysis or postmortem. Look and see who was the person that I maybe was intimidated by, or what issue should I have brought up sooner? And then think like, why didn't I bring that up? Was it situational? Is it because of the person? Is it because I was just having a bad day? Look into it. And then you don't have to tell anybody. You can look into it yourself and you can keep that for yourself and like move forward in silence without having to tell everybody about it, if that makes you feel better.
I have something to add to that,
Ah,
Natalie. God knows I've made plenty of mistakes, right? And taken a lot of risks, but I find for myself personally, there's something that will haunt me for a long time until I acknowledge it and own it.
yeah.
And that allows me to learn from it and it no longer haunts me. Like it's just something that I can, never gonna do that again. And
Yeah.
I sometimes may even bring it up as a story, as a lesson that I've learned to kind of convey and teach others.
Yeah, and what a great interview question, right? There's always that, tell me about a time you failed at a project, at blah, 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 blah. Man, get yourself the best interview questions out of those failures, those often public failures. If you're high enough in an organization, they're going to be rather public. It happens. It happens.
Yep.
I think this next question is really great because when I first met you, I was, full disclosure, Natalie's actually my career coach. And so when I first met Natalie, I was applying for certain roles. And she asked me why I was applying for these roles. And she said, why aren't you applying for anything bigger? And I said, I'm not qualified for that. And she told me, like, she basically looked at me and said, yes, you are. And so sometimes just hearing that is so helpful. So this question was submitted, and it's what advice would you give to someone who wants to transition into a leadership role but does not feel ready yet?
Yeah. I mean, short answer is, who cares if you're ready or not? Do it. But the real answer is the likelihood that you are downplaying your own skills, your own strengths, your own experience is extremely high, extremely, extremely high. Um, it is a known fact that men tend to apply when they're like, maybe 60% qualified, and in women, we tend to think we need to be 90 to 100% qualified. And it really is all about how you sell yourself, either in that interview or to that person who's going to refer you to that job. So, especially in the day of referrals and networking, you do not have to be anywhere close to 100% qualified. Nowhere close. You have to show that you're capable of doing the job. And if it's like an internal move, if you're trying to move in your organization with a leadership into a leadership role, but maybe people don't see you as a leader yet, this is your chance to start taking on stretch assignments. Join the intern if your organization has an internal leadership development program, join that. If they don't, ask how they can build one. And I'm a big fan of building your own thing. If you have a boss or a mentor who you think has had a really interesting career, tell them, I'm very interested in growing in this organization. Can you point me in the right direction, or do you have any advice for me? Oftentimes people don't know that you want to grow. Make sure that, remember, you have to explicitly say, I am interested in advancement in this organization. So, but most of all, don't count yourself out. Do not disqualify yourself ahead of time. Let them do the dirty work. Don't do it. Don't do it yourself.
I love that. I love that advice. Especially you have to tell someone, and that's often advice that I give people that no one will know that you want it unless you tell them.
Yeah.
The third question is, what are some habits or daily practices that help you stay grounded and focused as a leader?
Oh, I love that question. My favorite recommendation is it's reflection. Reflection, and it can be through meditation, it can be through journaling, it can be through, if you're going into the office, it can be your drive home. Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes of quiet and think about, I like to think of like like, who do I need to acknowledge today who helped me out? In what ways did I grow today as a leader? And it might be, we had a terrible conversation, and man, I know not to have a conversation that way again. Um, or what was a difficult situation for me today that I could have handled better? And it's funny, I actually have this book sitting right here because I always have this book sitting right here. It's well worn. It's called Humbitious. I realize it's probably backwards, but it's The Power of Low Ego, High Drive Leadership. It's by Amar Kasi. Um, there's a whole section in here around the power of reflection and leadership, and it's a great book. He's a great guy. But reflection, give yourself time, and whatever, if that looks like absolute silent meditation, do it. If it looks like holding off on your playlist on your run and just thinking for a few minutes, do it. Give yourself intentional time, because leadership is busy and noisy. Lord knows it's busy and noisy.
I think we all know some leaders that would need that book. Just saying.
The
Uh,
low ego part, right, is
mhm.
especially important. Yeah.
If someone's official job title did not reflect their full scope of their responsibilities, especially after the company changes or after layoffs, how should they represent that experience on their resume or LinkedIn? Is it okay to use more of a line function title or just stick to the official one?
That's a great question. And it's not a super straightforward answer because it does depend on the organization and sometimes even the industry. But it is never okay for an and titles matter. Titles matter more than I think we even want to believe they do, because often that's the thing that a recruiter will look at and be like, oh, they've only made it to director level. We're hiring a VP. Throw it to the side. So I often say, if you can't use the specific title, use the language of that title. If you should have been an executive, you should have literally had a title that was an executive position and you were functioning as an executive, call yourself an executive in the summary section on your resume. You function as one. That's how we know you are one, even if the organization was stingy and didn't give the titles out. There are some cases, though. There's actually many cases, more often than not, if my clients have that issue and I'm not comfortable, something about it just doesn't think we can't just change a title. I'll ask them, can you go ask your manager either for official title change, which that happens less often, or if they are knowing, the manager knows that they're looking for another title, they'll say, hey, I'm putting this on my resume. If you get a call for references, can you confirm this, because this is what I do? And if they already know you're leaving, I mean, what are they going to say? They can say no if they're a jerk, but if they're a jerk, you probably won't tell them. But the big thing there is use that language of what the position title should be very early on in the resume, even if you can't say VP of fill in the blank. So it's
I
a
know I
tricky.
have I know I have a comment after you speak every time, so I apologize about that. But I
No, I
think
love it.
this happens with project managers all the time. I've spoken to so many project managers, and their titles have been crazy. And so, it comes, you go from one company to another company, and they don't understand that title that you had. And it's because
Yeah.
they just make up these titles. It feels like. And the last question that we had submitted was for someone transitioning into project management from a creative or adjacent field, how important is it to pursue a formal certification? Does using the project manager title without the credential hurt your chances in the current job market?
You know what? I would love to hear your take on this as well, Danielle and Jade. But for me, what I have seen is you can be a project manager without, being a PMP. Obviously, that's how you become. I mean, you've got to do the work first. But if you are a project manager, call yourself a project manager. But should you pursue certification? I think PMI is such an awesome organization. I do think you should. I think the CAPM is a great start. I've got clients who have moved into executive levels who've never moved past CAPM because they moved into a high level and they were like, I don't need a PMP. I have PMPs. I have people who do that work for me now. So, but there's a shared terminology. I think the shared terminology is really important. But I'm going to throw this back on you, Danielle. What's your take?
So I wanted to actually talk before Jade because I think Jade's a perfect example of this. Jade was a program manager, project manager without the PMP. And she recently got her PMP, and so I'm so proud of her because it's an amazing achievement. But I do believe that you don't need the PMP. It's so helpful, but it's also you don't need the PMP in order to become a project manager. Um, on top of that, you don't need we have a resource out there that compares the difference because there's no true route to whether how you become a project manager. I actually got my PMP before I had any project manager like formal project manager experience. I was able to reframe my resume utilizing past roles that I had, and the work that I did was project management work, but it wasn't with that title. And so I was able to get into the field with my PMP without past titles. So that's like another perspective on that. I chose the certification route first, knowing that my past experience related to project management very, very closely. Where Jade, who took the other route, she went the project management experience route and then got certified at a later date. I'm gonna let you know this though, majority of the people that I know that's in project management, they don't have their PMP. But if your company is paying for it, if you find a grant that's going to pay for it, take advantage of it because it never hurts to have an extra certification. And Jade, over to you.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Natalie. Um, it's absolutely right. It's you definitely don't need the credential to practice, but and to be honest, it's not like we grew up wanting to be a project manager. I stumbled onto the profession and it kept me busy for a long time. And it opened doors in so many different companies for me. And so I was practically just too busy and having too much fun in my work to think about getting the credential. But as soon as I got the downtime, uh, and with Danielle's encouragement and seeing all the acronyms behind her name, it was really encouraging. So I did study for it and I took it. I'll second Danielle's sentiment as far as the cost. If you're at a company where they're going to compensate for it and give you funds to take a course on it or to actually file for the application for it, I recommend you take advantage of that because it's not cheap.
And usually, if a company really cares about it, they're going to fund it. So if the company I'm with right now, I'm with Boeing, they really, really care about the certification, so they fund it. And I think that's amazing. On top of that, if you are looking for, or if you're looking to get your PMP and you're in the application process, reach out to Jade and I. We have some resources that can help you fill out that application. It's not the most like straightforward thing, and so we can help guide you on that process as well. And that was the last question that was pre-submitted. Do we have any other questions in the room? if you
Yeah.
have any questions that didn't pop up here, please go ahead and submit it. We could, I didn't check with this with you, Natalie. Is it okay if I send you the questions after?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
And then,
Natalie,
Yes.
in case any PM that's new to your industry, healthcare,
Hmm.
uh, would you be able to help them transition? What's it like as you're helping others transition from one industry to another with the same title?
Yeah, the industry transition, it can be tricky, but what I have found is that project managers have in my experience, a little bit more streamlined process moving from one industry to the next, because often the projects that you're all working on, you wouldn't consider yourself like Danielle, you are not a forklift subject matter expert, right? But Danielle has worked the hell out of some forklift projects, and I know that, but she's not a forklift operator. So oftentimes the projects and the programs that you're overseeing and the projects you're working on, you don't know the intimate details of like the workings in the industry. So it's not as difficult, but making sure you know the standard language of that industry is the most important part. Because the language of project management, if it's a PMP or whatever, like that language is pretty universal. That's the point of it. It's great. But the industry, if you're switching industries, you need to know what the common terminology of other things are, just to sound credible in the interview beyond, because you're probably not going to be interviewing with, and you maybe be interviewing with project managers, but you may also not be. And I see, Aaron, this is a really good point. It does depend on the industry. Construction is huge. And yeah, for construction project managers, 100%. Construction and anything that is like an engineering architecture type thing, those are very specific. Healthcare, a little bit less specific. Because there's plenty of subject matter experts walking around that will tell you they're subject matter experts, and we got surgeons up the wazoo. We don't need like people to be the exact expert in everything, but yes, the subject matter or being the project managers in anything construction engineering, yeah, that's hard to get around in my experience. I work with a local company here that is a geospatial engineering company, which is part construction, part engineering, part, I don't know, however they keep bridges up. And it is extremely specific. They are extremely specific. So
great. That was a great question. Whenever I'm looking to transition, I'm looking at mainly non-technical roles. I feel like it's easier to transition into those than ones that are very specific.
thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you all. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or connect with me anywhere, but on LinkedIn, and go through my connections. Use me as a second level connection, like farm. Once you connect with me, will be first level connections, and then you can see all of the people that I'm connected with. And if you find somebody working in an industry or working in a company that you think is cool and you want an introduction, I'm happy. I do at least 20 LinkedIn introductions a week between people, with clients and non-clients. So I'm happy to do it. Please use me as a resource as well. And then if you guys all, if you've got any other specific questions, you can email me. You can book a free call and we can talk through it then. This is what I do, and I feel really fortunate to be able to have this as my career. It is highly fulfilling and meaningful. So please, thank you.